to the 2021 inaugural uh, show of the Rejected Stone podcast, brought to you by Rejected Stone Productions. I am your co-host, Dr. Jarvis Watson, and I am flanked and supported and truly blessed to be next to my brother virtually, Dr. Zebulon Miletsky. Say hello.
Yes, good to be back again.
Yeah,
2021.
2021, new beginnings, new opportunities. Really looking forward to having a really great conversation today with you, brother, about some things that have been going on. And to our listeners and to our supporters, thank you all for watching. And I just want to quote Rakim, it's been a long time. We should have left you, but we are here, and we are glad to be in the house. You know, what other way can you start off 2020, a new year without having hip hop at the forefront, And we just want to kind of
Right.
talk about some things that have been happening in the nation as recently as January 6th. So this is being recorded on the following day, and we really want to kind of go into some things. But we want to also about what happened at the Washington Capitol, our capital, with the rioters, um,
Yeah.
and who were incited by our leader, our nation's leader, to pretty much storm the Capitol. Something that has been seen since what 1812 or 18.
12.
Yeah, yeah. So not that we wanted to see something happen on a recurrent basis, but we're in some interesting times right now. So I think it's important that we sit down and discuss where we are and chronicle some of these things. So I don't know if you want to jump in before we
Yeah,
jump.
man. No, thank you. You're
Yeah,
absolutely right. I think, and I'm glad that to have again. Also glad to have this opportunity to reconnect. To just to be here in 2021, see
yeah.
2021.
Right, right, right.
Um, and it hasn't taken us very long into 2021 to see some very strange things indeed. It seems like almost every day, uh, you know, and this is one of the reasons why we launched this podcast so we can,
Right.
because it just seems like every day, every week, every month,
Man.
we're seeing, we're hearing the word unprecedented. We're seeing some new thing that has never happened, or claims to, or has
Right.
at least not have happened in a long time. And so, how do you make sense of it? How do you survive in it? How do we keep our minds, spirits, bodies intact? Even have a chance to think about New Year's resolutions. Before
Oh
the whole
snap!
whole,
Yeah.
whole country coming apart.
Oh wow! Didn't even think
And
about that. Yeah.
you know what I mean. And so it's like for those of us who are just trying to get through these days and be of service, be relevant, and be helpful.
Yeah.
Find ourselves also questioning what is going on in America right now.
What is going on? Like, was that a Marvin Gaye
It
quote as
is,
well?
yeah.
Man, Lord, see,
What's
uh,
going on?
let's switch from hip hop to R&B because it is definitely something going on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What's going on? Because, um, uh, you know, I mean, I found it really interesting. Yesterday noticing a lot of authoritative black voices, especially saying, "Black folks, stay out of this. This is stay home.
Yeah.
Don't go out.
Yeah.
Don't go near the Capitol." And yet at the same, which is wisdom right there.
Yes.
But at the same time, can't help but realize that somehow at the base of this so-called insurrection
Mm.
is, we know, is the racism, is the white supremacist,
Yes.
ideologies. And of course we saw a noose.
Man,
uh
I've
you
got to.
know
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like we have to talk about this as a community. What we're confronting.
You know what? Sometimes I'm thinking, like, from a psychological perspective, I think I repressed that vision, that image. That's right. Thank you for bringing that back up, man. I remember seeing that news, and it was actually in a significant location. I think it was. I don't know. Did they bring the whole uh, uh, structure, or was it like?
I
Yeah,
saw, and I'm sorry to have to, I'm sorry to have to bring it up,
yeah,
but but yeah, the picture I saw of it, sort of hard to see exactly what we were looking at
yeah. We could
because
add
it
that
was
in. Yeah,
from a perspective I couldn't get a sense of the scale exactly and size of it,
yeah, yeah,
but certainly was on display and among a lot of other things that were also on display. Um, I you know
yeah.
the the other thing that I saw a lot of people saying is, we have America, we've been trying to tell you all this time, what this person and what this administration was about,
Yeah.
why it's so dangerous, uh, to sort of play with this thing called white supremacy, and now more people are realizing, wow, this has really become beyond.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I'm just thinking about something I saw jumping on Black Twitter, looking at Jamil Hill. She made a statement saying that this is all theater. This was a theater for the last 4 years. I'm paraphrasing some of the things
I
you
love
talked
her.
about,
She, yeah,
but I mean, talk about keeping it 100, keeping it a buck. She really kind of put it out there like this has been some type of game for a long time, but now that we realize that when people start dying and you see these images of our democracy pretty much being compromised in so many different ways. It's the show's over, so to speak.
yeah, yeah.
Show's over. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
then and it just reaffirms what so many people have been saying. You've got
yeah,
people like Ibram Kendi and all these folks
yeah,
talk about anti-racism. That it's not enough. It's not just enough to feel bad about what things we saw this summer, things we saw in spring. It's not enough to just write a check for Black Lives Matter.
mm,
One must, I think people waking up today, seeing what happened yesterday, realize they have to have a searching of their souls, their hearts,
yeah,
and to scour their internal souls of any racism, any prejudice, any of these kinds of things, because without really interrogating with that, it leads to some of the stuff, in my opinion, of what we saw yesterday happening yesterday.
yeah. The introspection period hopefully goes beyond this week. I think it's really
Yeah,
to go
it
back a
has
few
to.
years and somebody made a statement. One of my colleagues was sharing like I think this goes beyond diversity, equity, and inclusion training. I said, yeah, yeah, it does. And it's the system truly at work that needs some work, that needs some restructuring, that needs some revisiting, and to kind of be able to have the introspection. If you've been the person that's been perpetuating all the benefits that you have been receiving from this system, but also not even addressing the oppression that you have been placing upon individuals, this is that time to really kind of recheck and see like, all right, we need to really do some stuff because you know what? And to quote another brother, oh man, it got the whole world watching. What was it, Most Def?
Hmm.
Got the whole world watching right now, and
Yeah.
you can't you can't continue to invest in false narratives and weak and I think the word that came up today was fragile policies. So
Yeah.
it's time. It's time for a change for real. It's been time for a change. For a long
No,
time.
no. Speaking of which, we're talking about 2020. We just
Oh yeah,
ended the year 2020, and when you say been time for a change, I think a lot about last year.
yeah.
But what to you were what are some of the things that happened in 2020 that kind of like should have been maybe like red flags or were highlights that let us know if we're listening to the right people, if we're
Right.
tuning in, then some people were not as shocked. I think we're all shocked, but not as shocked because some people said we told you this was going to happen.
Yeah, I think even close to the beginning of a few months after the year started in 2020, we had COVID-19. I think it started around like in February, March, something like that. And looking at all the health disparities that came along with that, and if you look at some of our rejected stone discussions, that was in length about what was happening, and it really kind of opened up the door about who was receiving care and who still has not been receiving care. So that was a opening, and to talk about the amount of conversations and I would say podcasts and discussions that were going on, even from the highest office, whether it be in New York or some other places,
Yeah.
about the historical, um, I would say, medical apartheid kind of practices that have been in place and how they kind of once again showing up and how people are receiving care, information. My wife was one of the people out there making sure people were knowing what was going on and setting up spaces in these neighborhoods like Amityville and Wyandanch and Brentwood to make sure that our people lived, our people survived, and to have that juxtaposed with the Black Lives Matter cases that came on, and to see Black Lives Matter to, I guess, be recharged and revisited, and not a local situation, but a global aspect, which was like, wow, man. I think you even made a number of comments of where you see Black Lives Matter, not just here, but in Germany, in a number of countries in Africa, um, shoot places, like some other European places. I'm just like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
because that was a rally cry for other people to be like, you know what, me too. I'm out here feeling the burn, and it's really interesting. And just to kind of name off a few, and it's sad that we got to keep remembering all these names, but I'm just gonna run off like people like Ahmaud Arbery,
Yeah.
George Floyd. One of the big, I think, really set it off. His sacrifice, unbeknownst to him, and unsolicited sacrifice. That was an unfortunate sacrifice that came at the behest of someone's knee. The pressure on all the body weight on somebody's knee. It was almost like the pressure of oppression in a weird way. And the system that's working upon us. Breonna Taylor, and now I just found out more about Justin Blake recently. About even though that was 2020, we just found out 2021 that they're not going to prosecute these individuals, and many others that have been part of police violence. There was an attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Was that training? You couldn't use words like white
Right. Yeah. Oh,
supremacy
right.
and
Yes.
anti-racist approaches. I don't think that is going to be happening moving forward, because it's definitely manifested in what we're going to talk about in a few seconds.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I think, and I know I
yeah,
want a lot of, I think for a lot of people,
yeah,
who are not out in the streets, maybe not protesting, but in their workplace, in their
yeah,
companies, in their jobs, this diversity, equity, and
mm,
inclusion is something we continue to hear more and more about.
yeah. And shout out to those who I've been a number of podcasts and webinars, but shout out to those leaders who took the initiative to be like, not us. You can put this edict down out. You can put this executive
Yeah,
order out, but you're gonna have to come and tell me that I'm not doing it, and still we're gonna fight you. So for
that's
those who,
right.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
Not a lot. It forced last year forced a lot of people to have to take personal stands like that. And
yeah,
isn't that so much about what our time is about?
yeah,
If some of these Republicans had looked more deeply in the mirror and who they were, what they're doing,
yeah,
it character happens when no one's watching, right? What you do
yeah,
when nobody's looking. So yeah, a lot of people did have to take stands on these things in
yeah,
their
man.
individual spaces.
And I think, man, I know we're definitely going to revisit that conversation a little bit later in the show. But yeah, why would you wait until this stuff happened? And almost in the same way that we had to say Black Lives Matter, your policy and your silence was complicit in these things happening, knowing that this stuff was wrong. But I'll push toward the more positive thing, where the voter registration experience movement. Shout
Okay.
out to all those individuals who were out there talking about hit the polls and bringing. I want to shout out minority millennials again, who's out there making sure people knew, like, you need to go vote, and
Absolutely. Yeah,
politicians
they do great work.
bringing the politicians to the table, the virtual table, so to speak.
Yeah.
Amazing work that they've done, and I'm probably missing some other people who are doing the same thing. But knowing that there's this generation that's coming up, and who's here, who's really like kicking butt in regards to making sure people know how to utilize their voice and their rights. So you saw people come out into the polls in droves and in great numbers
Yep.
during COVID,
Right,
and
another
making sure.
record, unprecedented. Everything that happens is like,
Yeah, and then what was going to be something that might have been bad during this time of a pandemic turned out to be one of the most positive things that came out of 2020, and I think that's the good part. Starts off kind of gloomy, but the sun, it said the sun, trouble may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. And I think that morning came when we saw Joe Biden up there with Kamala Harris, and I mean, wiped the electoral college vote out, knocked it out the box. I mean,
yeah,
and to know that I can look up and see a black woman and an Indian woman and an Indian American woman representing one of the most highest spots or leadership positions in our country. I mean, and I must make sure, even though I didn't go to one, shout out to HBCUs, historically black colleges and
wow,
universities that produce a number of folk who are actually moving into some high positions now. So all those things they talked about, well, if you go to HBCU, you, for those who have been saying those things, I ain't going to finish the sentence because I don't think you even need to have space on that. But look at what God does, in that
yeah,
aspect. Look at what the HBCUs have produced, and as well as being a part of a historical sorority, historically black sorority. So,
yeah.
man, 2020 was crazy. And also respect to Stacey Abrams,
Yes,
who once
yes,
again, black women being at the forefront, historically black college and
right.
university. Not sure if she's in a sorority or not, but man, she changed the scale and scope of this country, and you have to get that shout out and make sure we put this on video to make sure this is recorded. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
no, that's right. That's absolutely right. Her plan, her organizing genius, and even just ability to not give up. Because after losing, after really having the governorship stolen
yeah.
from her, a lot of other people would have gotten given up, and so this is like this, a long tradition. I think, think of Fannie Lou Hamer, think of
Yep. Yep.
Barbara Jordan, another time, black women continuously saving this country from itself, putting it together,
Yeah, thank God.
and
Yeah.
doing things that statistically, according to outcomes, according to expectations, they're not supposed to be able to be doing, right?
Right. Right.
And you know, I I think it's there's a lot of voices out there in America. A lot of people speaking authoritatively about this or that, and it really kind of comes down to who you are listening to. Who do you see as a leader? These these people who stormed the Capitol yesterday, they're listening to the wrong people, right? And they really, believing what they're hearing. Um, it's just wild, if left to their own devices, people are gonna just kind of like unfortunately, do whatever what they want to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
um,
And I don't know if we're gonna talk about it later, but just to ask the question to you, pose the question to you, like what does that psychology come from? Where you just take what people give you, you know, um, on that scale, and just
yeah,
be entirely reckless with your actions and your motives and stuff.
yeah. I think in 2020 we saw that a lot. Um, who you're listening to, who you're reading, who you're getting your information from.
Hmm.
Um, the whole question of truth itself, right, has
Right.
been
Yeah.
challenged. And the more I look around and see these things happening, um, I mean, a lot of these things are things that some of the first things you learn as a child. Don't lie, right? It's like that's like the first one, right? You know, and yet we're seeing, you know, massive deceptions happening from the very top to the bottom.
Right.
You know, and so I think in times like this, you know, where one is drawing their inspiration from, looking toward or to for wisdom and understanding. Um, I'll just say I think it shows a great deal in terms of, you know, some of the people out here and their actions. You know,
Yeah.
um, um, and I don't know where they're getting these ideas from, but um, but you know, I think that there's a lot of warnings. There have been a lot of warning signs. I'll put it that way. Over the years, cautionary warning signs to say, you know, um, uh, there could be, you know, something different coming down the pike, and so we've been tested as a country, right? We've been tested as a nation. I think the key thing is to remember that we don't forget the people who really betrayed the country, right? These last 4 years had no backbone whatsoever, could not stand up for anyone else, watched as, you know, thousands and thousands of people have died, you know, just couldn't the callousness and the carelessness and the, you know, that's okay, that's one ideology, that's one point of view, but just know there's a lot of other people out there who are bringing a perspective that is, you know, um, that is challenging that,
Yeah.
right? And that is trying to, you know, because one of the things that has gotten neglected in all this is healing, the healing process from 2020,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, we didn't even get a chance. You never get a chance. You know, people were celebrating out in the streets the day that it was announced that Biden, you know, had won the presidency. People were literally dancing in at least in New York.
Yeah.
Um, and then before you even can even think about that, now we're at the place we are now. So it can be very psychologically, you know, kind of like confusing,
Yeah.
to say the least. But I think that, and that's one of the reasons that we, you know, we want to keep this going, because we feel that, um, to not say anything, to not speak out on some of these things, and to offer at least an alternative perspective,
Yeah.
you know, I think everyone feels they want to do their little bit right now, and this is one way to try that we could try to do that.
Yeah, man. When everything, thank you for that. I think that was a great breakdown of like the psychological aspect of what's really been going on, and just to let you all know, like when some stuff happens, there's certain people I call on that short list, and Zeb was definitely at the top. Like,
If
what we
that gets
going to do? And then it was almost like a no look pass. It was like, we gonna do this tomorrow.
right,
So
yeah,
I was
right.
like,
You called,
man, you were
and I
like,
was like,
you like, well,
definitely.
we talking about this tomorrow, right? I was like, yeah, let's go, let's go.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
because I think it's critical. I think it's really critical. You know, for example, like yesterday, so many things happened. I heard very few people drawing the connection between the news of the morning that Raphael Warnock,
yeah,
shout out to Reverend Warnock,
man, yeah,
and
yeah.
and and
Come
also
on,
who won his race,
yeah,
but
congratulations.
another HBCU grad. You know, see,
Come on,
um, you're right. You know, something is speaking. The universe is speaking, um, and we'd be naive to think there was no connection between the realization that pro-Trump people realized they lost the Senate, uh, to a black man elected first black senator from the state of Georgia. You know, when you're up against these kinds of, you're talking about historically epic kind of like odds here. So good and right is on the side of the just,
right?
and these other people, I think, show themselves. We're hesitant to label or identify it as, you know, as it's sort of all like, well, this for under the First Amendment, And you see the confusion yesterday. People are like, well, we didn't want to interrupt people's First Amendment rights. Um,
See, people don't go further and talk about the harm. If your First Amendment rights are causing harm, then there's a controversy. And I don't think people read past the third line. Almost like when people read text, they only go through two swipes, and
oh yeah,
yeah,
good
you know.
point. Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, even calling them protesters, the protesters as it's we're back to that, and we know what's behind that. We all know what's behind that.
mm,
Right? Race is behind all of this, of course.
yeah,
And I don't appreciate the people keep making the point where they say, well, if this had been Black Lives Matter trying to raid the Capitol, it would have been a much different response. Black Lives Matter never tried to raid the Capitol before.
oh
Like,
man, say that again. I mean,
you know what I mean? Like, they never tried to do that. Now, you might have had, there was a peaceful protest demonstration, and then we do see the difference
right,
in a that point needs to be made that even in a peaceful demonstration, the
yeah,
kind that Black Lives Matter leads,
right.
unlike what happened yesterday, right? These two, to compare that to Black Lives Matter is an insult to Black Lives Matter, because they've never tried to do anything
And
like that.
they did the same thing with, I know you know this, but the same way how they kind of demonized Black Panthers.
Yeah. Okay. Of course.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Same thing. And I mean, I think we get it. We get the point. The fear of Black people that is inherent in so many white Americans would have caused them to probably hold the line a little differently yesterday. But that doesn't have anything. That doesn't have anything to do with Black Lives Matter.
yeah.
And I think it just shows in so many people's minds that Black person means Black Lives Matter, and that right there is somewhat racist, because that's not what it is.
Yeah, man. So I think that's a nice segue into talking about. Unless you got some other caveats from
No,
2020,
let's move on.
man.
We
Because
need a
I was
segue.
like,
I'm
man,
getting a little
yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Because while before we start, I was like, let me get some like captions of some things that we want to talk about. But I think the Associated Press on January 6th kind of talked, as a nice segue, kind of broke down, if I could read a little snippet from there, saying Black Lives Matter protests 2020, overwhelming force from law enforcement in dozens of cities, chemical dispersants, what was it? Disparants, sorry, rubber bullets and hand-to-hand combat with largely peaceful crowds and some unruly vandals and looters, more than 14,000 arrests. Go to January 6, 2021 at the U.S. Capitol. Barely more than a few dozen arrests, several weapons seized, and improvised explosive devices found. They found two pipe bombs, kind of what they're talking about. Members of a wilding mob escorted from the premises, some not even in handcuffs. The key differences, they said the set of protesters were overwhelmingly Black Americans and their allies. The second group was overwhelmingly white Americans who support outgoing President Donald Trump's baseless claims of election fraud. So, right there to your point, nowhere. Let's if you went through any news or any reporting of what went down with Black Lives Matter, um, they never tried to get inside the Capitol.
yeah. Right. Nothing like that.
Talking about 14,000 arrests.
Not. I mean, no. I mean, today is been a little bit better. They're using the word terrorist to describe, okay, what happened now, and of course, Trump people and them tried to use that same description for Black Lives Matter,
Yeah,
right? To political purposes. But here is an actual textbook definition of terrorism. What we saw yesterday, they went in, and I mean, some of these offices looked like they were robbed, right?
man.
Everything thrown on, desecrated. Uh, you know, I mean, me personally, if you listen to what Trump has said, what he has done, I personally, maybe because I'm as a historian, but I expected, I did, I've been. You can ask my wife. She's that's my
You see, I
that's my
put that
witness.
on. Yeah.
Okay, so you know, maybe, but I've been saying this for a very long time, and I'm like, I think that I call it you know, dictator light. You know what I mean? It's like autocratic. It's like
Oh,
he gives you a flavor of what it would be like to live under an autocratic kind of empire for a little while. And then it's like,
oh,
okay, go on home. We love you. And so you get like this. It's almost like Trump's continuously flirting with how far can I push America towards this despotic kind of
yeah,
fascist, sort of existence and get away with it,
yeah, man,
right?
yeah,
And he keeps pushing and prodding a little more each time, And yesterday appears to have been the the over the edge, but then again, we've had a few moments where people said this was over the edge. Conspiring with Russia was supposed to be over the edge, and making the phone call to to the president of to
oh,
investigate whatever that country was, try to investigate Biden's son. All those things
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um, was all over the line, and then here we are again.
yeah. I think I was talking to somebody recently and saying how yesterday the massaging of this type of behavior or the investment in this behavior, the practice has been going on in a few states. One that comes to mind is Michigan. Thinking about how when they were marching to their well, let's talk about the attempted kidnapping of
Talk
the
to me.
governor.
There's so
Uh,
many things.
yeah, and then nothing even comes from that office like, well, that's a bad thing, or we shouldn't do that. That's we should find these individuals
Kidnapping.
and kind of down. But to walk to their government buildings with assault rifles, which I'm pretty sure were loaded, with no one touching them. And then once again, we go to this kind of juxtaposition with Black Lives Matter, where these people out there in the streets are getting like pummeled, tear gas, whatever other vehicles out there is, you know, spraying water on them and things like that.
Right.
But there's this complicitness from a lot of different people, not just the president, but a lot of different lawmakers are saying this is okay, this is all right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you
Yeah,
hit it right on the head.
yeah. So this like you said, there's no surprise about why they were able to believe. Going back to that psychology, this is going to be okay. I can just walk up and let's think about the images that were placed outside of the videos, taking selfies with the police,
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
scaling the walls, climbing up the Capitol walls, almost like you're inhuman, like you're Spider-Man or something. You got this um, busting through the windows to go through the window to get into um, the Capitol,
Yeah.
barricading.
Who asked you to break a window? Who said you could do that?
And it's like when you get inside, what are you going to do? I'm walking down the hallways talking about, hey, where you at? Where's so and so? Knocking on doors. To see the images of the Secret Service barricading the members of the Congress on the Senate floor. But what another thing that might have been disturbing also was there's this one scene where there's like four Secret Service individuals with their guns aimed at the door in case somebody comes through,
Yes,
and
that was.
there was one person looking through the window like, hey, what's going on in there? It's like there's four people with guns drawn on you, but you're not even fearing that there's a bullet that might come the other way. And it's like, wow, beyond the psychology, the naive courage, is that a word is that a term we can use?
Yeah, it should be.
you
It
know,
should be. It's
the, the
trending as we speak.
the boldness of like, hey, I know I'm in the top federal building and I'm acting as if nothing's going to happen. But the propelling down the wall into the Senate, sitting where Nancy Pelosi sits, whose office was the guy putting his feet up on? Was that
That
was
was
that?
right. It was Nancy Pelosi's office. Yeah. Stole an envelope and left a quarter on it. I mean, this is. I'm so glad you're saying this. I'm so glad because,
Yeah,
and this is what I appreciate so much about our chances to dialogue like this, because what you're really getting at is what I think America needs to see, which is that white supremacy and whiteness as a whole, as a concept, is killing you. Right? This is the biggest threat to to America right now.
right.
When even for that, I'm talking about white people now,
Mm-hmm.
right? That the permissiveness, the double standards, right? This is why people like Sean King and others and who show these videos where you got a white guy, basically telling off the police, telling them what they're going to do. I don't know if you saw this video over the break. It was over the Christmas. It was like this guy in a truck, red truck, and he tells them, I'm going to leave now. I'm going to drive away now. And they're like, don't you do it. They got the guns point. Don't do it. Don't do it. He's like, turns the car on, puts the hands on the wheel, and then dude just drives away, and it's like after but that is so exactly what it means to be white in America, right?
Yeah,
That's what's been hard to explore, beyond the racism, the laws, the Jim Crow, all that stuff. But then just the knowledge and the freedom of what it means to be white, that at a drop of a hat, um, your yay or nay could mean a black life, like overnight, right? Or a white woman can say, "Oh, I was attacked by a black man," and we all
yeah,
know. So those dynamics get unleashed. Now,
yeah.
this is why it's dangerous. This is why you shouldn't. You've got to apply the law evenly and so forth, because now
Right.
you got moments like that where the cops like, yeah, we're gonna take a selfie together. It's that frat boy kind of mentality here. It's like, well, but that America's not going to make it in the 21st century with this
Right.
mentality.
It's it's almost like we've been trying to tell you. I told you so, and now what has been invested, indoctrinated, has come back to this particular point that we're in right now. For people to be like, yeah, this is kind of bad. This took a turn in the ways that I'm talking to people like I didn't realize it was going to happen. It's like you knew it was something was going to go down, but at this scale, I don't think yeah. But at the same time, it's like I can see why we can kind of point to several different systemic factors that provided the space and opportunity for them to do what they did without any type of I would say immediate, because I'm not sure what they're doing now, but any type of immediate response or reaction from law enforcement.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing now is a number of people are resigning or they're asking for their resignations, and it's like, why are you asking for something like that when you know that your life was in harm? Like, why in harm's way? Why are you making a statement? Just handle your business, because you know what, their job was to protect not just you but also our democracy, and you're giving once again an opportunity to walk out with their head held high. You should be let go.
It looked like people were on a tour.
Expeditiously, yeah.
It looked like they coming out of there like they had just gone through a tour of the Capitol building. Like guys holding the door open,
Oh,
woo, we made it.
when they walked the lady down the stairs.
Well, it was so many things going on. I noticed a lot of things when they first come into the rotunda thing. Some people were taking pictures, like they were on a tour. Never been there, maybe. Uh, and so I don't. It's that just says it was it's like you said. It was like a perfect storm
Yeah,
of all the permissiveness, all of the not wanting to deal with white supremacy, not wanting to deal with the danger that's posed by Trump and these people.
yeah.
But no, there is a
Yeah.
certain karmic karmic value to the whole thing that took place. Yes, and we saw a
Yeah,
lot of them. So,
but I think it's just what you profess, what you instill, what you um, serve as your gospel. If this is, you can't give love from hate. You can't get good things from hate. Um,
yeah,
if this is what you are really professing that this is how things should be, um, I think we're at a place right now in America, I think in the world, where it's like enough is enough.
yeah,
We got a thing in counseling psychology called incongruence. You're saying one thing but doing something else. James Baldwin talks about that a lot. I can't believe what you say because I see what you do, and until there's some other things that we can see that counteracts what you've been talking about, what's been happening, your actions have to really be incongruous with your words and these and things that we value in this country, like liberty, pursuit of happiness, justice, fairness, equity, equality, things that everybody's been trying to define and pretty much bleed and die for.
yeah.
To take a second to think and exhale about it, it really left a numbness in me last night in a way that I can't explain. It was my brain really couldn't compute, but it was really hard to articulate my feelings and emotions because of just what I saw. But there was this other part of me, like I think what we're talking about, was like I know I was not crazy. I know I was not losing my mind. I know what the things I've been seeing, experiencing for the 44 years I've been on this earth. This is it. I'm like, there was another part of me that was like, thank you for showing your behind yesterday,
Yeah.
because we've been trying to tell everybody that, and we've been from the rooftops, from I don't know how many different webinars we've been on and talks and unity forums we've been putting together and Black History Month programs we created to kind of help people understand like our conditions in this country are horrendous, and you can't sweep this kind of stuff under the rug anymore. It's really I was having this like this moment where I just couldn't speak, or even sit still, just man. So hopefully the next couple of days, I'm able to articulate myself in a more uh, coherent way. But yeah, this is
No,
this
it's
is
completely understandable though. It's
mhm,
it's it's I think that's what it comes down to. For those who do love this, I love how you that term incongruence, and I wonder. I know there's probably another term for psychologically to explain that whole thing where the thing that you're accusing someone else of doing is the very thing that you're doing,
mm,
right? So when you say like, oh, these people are are terrorists, you're the terrorist, and you say, although these people are the ones who are trying, this QAnon stuff,
mm-hmm,
it's like all the things that they're professing that the Democrats are supposed to be about. I feel like is the stuff that they're about,
yeah,
right? And so projecting, maybe I guess is what that is, and so that we've had some massive kind of like moments like that of projecting,
yeah,
you know, um, um, and and so that's one way I think to interpret our present time. Somebody claims or professes too much to be one thing. That's probably oh no, we're the innocent ones, and they're the that it really is them who's the thing, and so yeah, the truth always ends up coming out, um, and and unfortunately, that has always been the thing that ends up really being the engine of change, is when white Americans start to get a feel for what black folks been go through all the time, right? And it shows you the bubbles that we all live in.
yeah,
People
yeah,
don't know. They don't know. And then when they start to feel that, like, whoa, you know, they get a taste of, well, that tends to be the thing that changes society. When Middle America starts to feel or see. Unfortunately, Middle America's the people driving some of these retaliate. Not everybody, but like you were saying, reading today that not only the capital, but this happened in a lot of state capitals. A lot of state capitals got locked down yesterday as well. I read
Really?
Texas. Um,
Whoa.
what was that? I believe Michigan also was again a flashpoint. No surprise there, and then other places as well. It was in the New York Times today.
Yeah, it's like, is there like this secret mobilization of people having these discussions in the same way? We kind of like reflected on yesterday's transgressions. Is there this like concentrated or concerted set of meetings or people coming together saying, all right, our cause is this, and the way we fulfill this cause is by doing these particular acts. And if you do get arrested, we got you, and and blah 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 blah. Where
Yeah, I think it's called the Proud Boys.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that was the alley oop, y'all, and he dunked it.
They've been
Yeah,
planning this bad boy.
but
Yeah, I
let's
mean,
think
no, I
about
saw a
that.
picture of
Yeah,
somebody. I saw a picture yesterday. Some things can be, changed on online and stuff. But look,
yeah,
this guy had a shirt on that said "Civil War, February 6th." I mean, it's January 6th, and so that obviously had to be made up before. He was wearing it at the thing yesterday, so. All the reports are saying that this has been being planned, which makes total sense to me.
yeah,
Total sense. I was reading a
yeah,
lot about these groups, the Proud Boys being one of them, some other groups with names I can't remember right now. All these different groups that have been pledging, they've been saying we're going to bring a Civil War like approach, a secessionist kind of mentality that
yeah,
we have to save, and you saw this ragtag group that you know I mean we had echoes of what we saw during Civil War and Reconstruction.
yeah. Except for we even had what was that somebody from the Norse mythology come in there with looking like. I was like, well, they got everybody. They said, look, we're gonna go.
But see, yeah, they're right. That's the autocratic. That's the light part. With the
Yeah,
hat, with the horns. It's supposed to, you're like,
it's
is
like
this a frat party or is this all
it's
these
like
people going back to the Holiday Inn after this, the Olive Garden, and just hang out, or like what kind of group is this?
I want to see that debrief. Like, yeah. So, what do you think about today's situation? Oh yeah, past could you please pour some more beer in my helmet? As we discuss these things. Um, but think about that. We have a leader, and I'm thinking about some of these images from the 50s and the 60s about like the Bull Connors and things like that. Some of those George Wallaces that are like inciting being separate and being segregationist, and even though he didn't say it, the fact that he had the rally. I'm looking at this as well. I think some more is coming from Washington Post, but you set up a time to and energy and resources to set up a rally, send these individuals off charged up and saying you gotta be strong about this. Go to the Capitol and do you in the most patriotic, strong way that people will know that you were there today. And my thing is, don't you see how your president is setting you up for failure? Don't you see how this leader is setting you up? And pretty much there's someone who lost their life, and three other individuals lost their life. Four people lost their lives because of the fact that there was this, this run abundant. I mean, run rampant, and there's no culpability on his side. Like that's not leadership. That's something that people have to realize. Like this is madness.
Yep.
that you would send these people to break down the very thing that got you in office, that got other people in office, that supposedly makes this country great. This that democracy makes it great, but you're tearing it down by sacrificing your own supporters, the people that pretty much probably took time off from work, took time away from their family, and I'm really talking about the fact that what they're sacrificing to bring back what America looks like in their eyes, and then you send them
Hmm.
to a potential ultimate death, you know. So it's or to be hurt or maimed, and it's really I'm hoping that these individuals take a second to be like, is this what it's all about? Is this something that I can invest time in? Is this something I can pass down to my kids? Is this something I can be proud about as I start to talk about my history? We sit down by the campfire or sit outside or around the Thanksgiving table and we talk about, you know, times past. Dad, Granddaddy, can you tell me the time that you stormed the Capitol? That's your narrative?
Right. Yeah. 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 No, I think it's important to call out these things for what they are. We're
Mm-hmm.
so tolerant of just all kinds of approaches, even ones that are patently dishonest.
Yeah,
And I think there has to be some kind of like filter, like, again, if we don't have any kind of moral compass whatsoever, right? Lying is
right.
okay. Sending a bunch of people into the Capitol with, lying to them, but, causing violence, causing a death, okay, is okay. Then, we have to really rethink kind of like what our society is even about. I mean, um, but beyond that, I'm glad you mentioned like the Bull Connors of the civil rights period, the George Wallace's, because that's really what Trump is. He's a national Bull Connor, right?
Man,
On a national level, and he's what George Wallace wanted to be. President, coming from a segregationist,
yeah,
coming from a white supremacist viewpoint, and just it's often acknowledged, that in the movement and the Southern civil rights movement and in the North too, those kinds of figures, the villains, if you will, or the ones who are willing to, to be, to be cruel, to be unhuman like that, unfeeling,
yeah,
unflinching, and so forth, are necessary in a sense to bring about some kind of change. And
right.
this is, this is it's been disastrous for the country and for the government and for so many things. And meanwhile, COVID deaths are still raging, high record numbers every day now.
Yeah.
um
Oh, think about what's going to transpire after, you know, when they go back to their respective homes. You think COVID hasn't spread, you know, in a
oh,
rampant
none of those people
pace?
had masks. Yeah. No, they it's we're dealing with it's a dirty business, this whole thing. And there's just, I think we just have to be honest about the fact that we're talking, that this whole thing with Trump started with a lot of people who are angry for various reasons. We never got at the root of the anger. We never
Right,
dealt with it, never helped.
right.
And these people still find themselves leaderless and following a path that leads nowhere.
Which could be a dangerous thing in regards to now that, you know, we don't have our person in the House. Because even the Republicans even was like, I'm gonna turn my back on all these shenanigans and all the things that, you know, we tried to be with you to the end. But and I think that's verbatim. He was like, I tried to. Was it the guy Graham? Was that
Oh
not
yeah,
Graham?
you mean,
Oh
he
yeah.
said enough is enough.
I was like, oh man. Well, he had
Yeah,
the hand movements and everything. I was like, man, he's
I know.
animated like this. Like I am disowning you, disassociating, uh, probably disrespecting you at the same time. But I am not going to be sipping this Kool Aid anymore. You know, and I'm hoping that like once again that's just not something that is a bunch of words, and I'm hoping that there was some type of enlightenment or some type of light bulb that went off for our lawmakers and say, hey, listen, it's all right. We're going to disagree on certain things. We don't see eye to eye on certain things because of how we see the country, but it should not have to lead to a point where people are continuing to die, continuing to be harmed, continuing to be historically marginalized. Uh, Debate on things that, like, hey, I think we can make someone's life better if we put money here, or what if we put money here, but what if we share our resources to make this person's life even better. I think that's the switch I'm looking to see with this new leadership that we have, and I'm glad to see, like I said, was it Warnock and Osa, what's his last name?
Ossoff, yeah.
Ossoff, that are in power right now, which pretty much shifted. Once again, going back to Stacey Abrams, help that thing move to shift in a way that's going to be beneficial. So to our Democrats, we're not letting them off the hook as well. Like, listen, now that you have this opportunity, we as the people have to make sure that our representatives are doing the things that are going to benefit us. They're going to benefit this country. That make sure that whatever wrongs that were there before, we change that and hopefully sustain that. And I think that's going to have to be a collective approach, but it has to come with that impetus and that strength and that catalyst type of approach from the Democrats that are in power right now. And please, and for us, we cannot let up and get complacent and start taking naps, political naps. It's not the time for that. This is the time to mobilize. This is the time to strategize and be more vertically connected, I would say, to the things that are happening in this country. Because as I get older and I start to think about having children, I want them to grow up in a place where, stuff like this, that stuff that happened yesterday is going to happen, and they have to worry about walking down the street just to go to get a pack of Skittles and a Snapple, even though my wife does have a lot of snacks in the house, so she, may have to go that far. But like that, you ain't gotta look over your shoulder left or right. I think that's what every generation and every decade is trying to aspire to. That there's a sense of belonging, but sense of I guess a lack of fear, a sense of confidence that, hey, I belong here just as much as you do. So, yeah.
I'm not gonna even add anything to that. That's that you said it. I want to live in America where people got snacks in the house and are ready,
Yeah.
and life can be good again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's it. I think I think people need to hear what all jokes aside, people need to hear what you just said. What what a lot of people are saying. What the plight of what that means when you can't do those things,
Yeah.
and if we're gonna make, unfortunately, a lot of times things have to get worse before they get better. So I'm hopeful that I after yesterday it's hard, but I still remain hopeful that we're on a path, but not without having these kinds of dialogues and discussions and insights like the one you just made.
Yeah, so we just gonna, like, this is just one discussion, and wherever we are respectively in our professional or personal realms, we're gonna have another conversation. Another set of squares are gonna be created where we can kind of share these ideas and share our thoughts, and once again show, like, these are our rights. These are our inalienable rights for us to speak truth to power, and
Sure.
and we're, like I said, once again, we're in a place where it's even more apparent that our voices need to be shared, heard, and I would say respected. So, and that's all I got to say about that. So,
yeah.
So, I'm not sure.
Well, I think you said it. We said it all. We said it all for this segment,
brother. Yeah, you dropped some gems. I can't wait to, like, kind of look back at what we talked about and take some notes. And yeah, these are the kind of things I definitely want to share with my hopefully future kids and with my family say, hey, when it was going down, me and Doc were present, and we make sure we help other people understand that they're not alone in the thoughts that they were sharing. So yeah.
Blessed to that. And yeah, so I, this has been another
Mm-hmm.
episode of the Rejected Stone podcast. We're looking forward to our next discussion where we get into some more of that stuff, holding the Democrats accountable in 2021. And what you got there? Oh, okay, the Rejected
So
Stone. All
that's a
right.
courtesy of wife. We just throwing images out there, but
That's the
yeah,
touchstone.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Right.
So yeah, man. So until next time, and hopefully we'll follow up after the election. Pray that all goes well with that election and the transfer of power, which will definitely have some more things to talk about as that transition happens. Hopefully we get to show some footage of what went down, what happened that day. But hopefully we'll have more positive reports from that and with some optimistic kind of discussions about what we'll see in the future. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
With that, I will we'll be signing off, and
that's right.
as we always say at the end of every show, Twin Day.
Twin Day. Yeah. Right. We out.
The revolution will not be televised.